Today we're going to learn how to make hummingbird food. It's very simple. The basic recipe is 1/4 cup sugar per cup of water. But a hummingbird feeder normally holds about 2 cups. So it's very simple. You just take, if you watch this, I'll tell you which kind of sugar to buy in a second, but you make a 1/2 cup, you pour a 1/2 cup of sugar for every 2 cups of water. This is a typical 2-cup measuring cup. And what you want to do is you want to boil this water with the sugar. You can just put them both in together and then boil, because this takes out, it makes it a pure mixture and it won't mold and it won't have bad things in it for the hummingbird. Now if you come back over here, you have to see the exact kind of sugar. You always want to buy organic cane sugar. This is the Whole Foods brand, and this is the Trader Joe's version, organic Trader Joe's sugar. The reason is that highly processed sugars have other elements in them, and hummingbirds are very, very, very sensitive tiny creatures, so you wouldn't want to put in anything that was not pure and natural. Okay, now if you come back over here to look at the boiling water sugar solution, it doesn't take long. You just boil over the stove, maybe for a minute or two after it starts to a rolling boil. Now you can pause that. Now as you can see, if you bring the camera right over here up close, the water is now at a rolling boil, and the other reason to boil is that it simply makes it much easier to dissolve the sugar. Sugar dissolves in hot water much faster than in cold water. But this boiling process is what sterilizes really the mixture, because it's going to be sitting out there in the sun, and if it has bacteria in it or anything to start out with, then that's just going to grow and you're going to have an increasing mess. So this has boiled for about a minute or two. So now we're going to turn off the flame, and you take your Pyrex measuring cup again, the one you use, and they are easy enough to find, but you just need something to pour the hot water back into. A glass container, and the reason for that, you'll notice that this raw sugar has a kind of a color to it, which is just fine. It just means it's natural. And the crucial part now is to color this water red. The reason for that is that the hummingbird's favorite color for flowers is always red. And you will notice that they always go after red flowers if they're going around natural flowers. Now this should be a nice dark red once you've mixed it up. And you need to be really careful, because food coloring will stain your skin for several hours with whatever color, because it's highly concentrated. So you're only putting in a couple drops, and this liquid kind is really the best. You see how we're getting it to a nice deep dark red? Don't be afraid to give it a few extra drops, because those hummingbirds like the dark red. And then you're going to let that mixture cool. It only takes an hour or so. It's important not to load it up with ice at this point, because that just dilutes it. We tried that once and the hummingbirds rejected it. They said, "What's wrong with this mixture? It's too weak." They like it just exactly 2 cups of water for a 1/2 cup of sugar. So that'll cool down fast enough. You just leave it maybe an hour or so by a window, and it'll be ready to load into your hummingbird feeder. Okay, now this feeder is easy to take off. It's got a little paper clip at the top which just hooks back down on the rope, if you can see that. And the rope is an elastic cord, which Chief really likes to stand on. Now we're going to take this, we're going to put it in a paper bag, because it's easier to just kind of get it back to the bathroom. Sometimes it will drip a little bit of its nectar. And we're going to go wash this, which has to be done about once every other time you refill it, just to keep it from growing mold inside. Here we are in the bathtub. This is the easiest place to just take this apart and wash it quickly. You'll see that there's simply a sleeve like this. This is where the hummingbirds stick their noses through. And then this apparatus is very simple. It's just a the dish screws onto the end of what's essentially a jar. And you take it out carefully, put it back on carefully. Don't over tighten it when you put it back on. And you'll see I let the hummingbird food just spill out because this is an open dish down there. If you just put this on the hot water and just give it a good rinse, it'll keep the mold from growing in there, which it will do eventually. And the easiest way to deal with that is just to give it a rinse every other time you reload it. Now Chief and his friends will actually empty one of these jars about once a week. So you'll just be rinsing it out once every 2 weeks, and it just takes a few seconds like this. Let the water run through these little fake flowers because that's where he sticks his feet. Okay, now it's just been rinsed out with hot water. In rare circumstances, if you've let it go too long, it might grow some mold up in here. And the only way to really get that out is to take a bottle brush like this, which we'll leave for you, and you can scrub the inside like that. And you may need to put a very, very dilute solution of Clorox, but you must only use a few drops for that much water because it's highly toxic, and once you've let the Clorox do its work and kill the mold inside there, then you have to rinse this out at least 10 times with water to make sure there's no trace of Clorox in there, because a tiny trace would kill a hummingbird. Okay, now we're going to put this back in the paper bag all rinsed out so it doesn't drip in the apartment. And okay, so after about an hour this nectar has cooled down enough. It's basically room temperature. I'm going to reload the feeder, which we have just cleaned. Set this down. And remember to put these fake flowers on in the right direction. They're going to want to be like this. You have to put that collar on first so you'll be frustrated. Then you get the bottom of it ready to go. And here's all you do. You just simply hold it out over the balcony so if it drips, it doesn't matter. And you're going to have a little left over from your 2-cup solution, but that is for the hummingbird gods. And you just fling it into the garden. And then you see that nice clean dish. Doesn't have any mold growing in it. Nice and healthy. Now you want to just turn this thing over quickly because it's going to fill that dish, and then it's ready to go. Here's this little paper clip hook which holds on there. And then the hummingbirds will come back and be very grateful. Sometimes they've been so eager to get their hummingbird food that they will start feeding on it while I'm still holding it and reloading it. They're very friendly animals for those who provide for them. And that's your full set of instructions on how to maintain a hummingbird feeder in a healthful, wholesome way for your hummingbird friends.